I want to begin with the strike, in the auto industry. And
Yeah, yeah.
what I can't understand, Joe, is there are more Americans who side with the corporations than with the people. What has happened in our society?
That's kind of bizarre, isn't it?
Yes,
It's to me, I really do think it is the demonizing of the labor movement that has been taking place for decades now in America. Uh, as you well know, I was a union organizer at the Milwaukee Journal,
right.
and we organized the union there just in time, to tell you the truth, because um, uh, there was a time when the Milwaukee Journal and the Milwaukee Sentinel in Milwaukee were, really a great investment. As you say, I had a long career at the Journal, and I was actually an owner of the Journal. I was management. Imagine that. And because I held stock and I accumulated stock throughout my career there, and the tax when we go in to get our taxes done, our tax advisors really couldn't believe it because that stock throughout the time I held stock, which, as you say, was for more than 20 years, the stock never went down. Okay. And they said, no, that can't be true. Everybody knows that stocks go up and down,
Right.
and it'd be foolish just to think that they're always going to go up. Well, it turned out to be ultimately foolish, but not while I was there. The entire time I was a stockholder, the stock always went up, and that was the running newspapers, running broadcast, radio and television stations. That was printing money. It really was. It just kept expanding and expanding and expanding. And sadly, we now know that's no longer true. That newspapers, and especially local newspapers in this country, have been going out of business at a rapid rate. And that is shocking. And it is, unfortunately, I believe, what's contributing to the ignorance in politics today, the ignorance in both the national and in local Republican Party, which I think is rampant, because people just do not know what's going on now to them through things like the power that the corporations have over wages, the refusal to really pay employees what they're worth, and now really trying to replace them totally with robots and machines and artificial intelligence and everything else, so that you can run corporations and run businesses without human beings and without people doing the work. And that is what's happening in the labor industry, in the labor movement. And we got to fight that, because I don't know what the economy of America is going to be based on when corporations no longer have to hire people to make money.
Joe, you and I, in our time, unions were prevalent and people were able to live middle class lifestyles, and they were
That's what built the middle class.
Well, yes, and pensions, something
Yeah.
called a pension, right? And
Yeah.
so people were able to. They didn't need to have degrees and all those things in order to be able to get that. And that was not just in urban centers. That was in rural parts of the nation and country as
Absolutely.
well, because the
Absolutely.
paper mills and all those kind of things. And so now today you see people pushing back against the reformulation of unions, and I don't know where that comes from, and maybe it's because Joe, they don't know the history of it, and they've been led to believe that people who work in unions basically are just slough offs,
Yeah, right.
and they're being taken care of.
They're greedy. They
Yes.
want to be paid for their work. Imagine that.
It's not funny, Joe, because I think people don't really understand, as you stated, they don't get the papers the way they used to anymore. And so it's okay if a police and fire union, those people are okay to have unions and they're deserving of it, but others aren't. And I don't know how we fix that, Joe, but we've got to fix that.
Yeah, well, I think we're in the process of fixing it. I think you're right that there is a new union movement going on now. The fact that Starbucks can organize unions these days.
Right.
Those poor kids that have to stand there all day, making coffee drinks on their feet and are paid minimally. They're spending all day working there. How do they raise families spending all day working there unless they are paid a livable wage? How does anyone raise families working all day somewhere without enough pay to feed their families? We know that some professions in this country make a lot of money. Doctors, lawyers, things like that. How about the most important job that I can think of that anybody could do in America, which is to educate our kids and to teach our kids what's going on in this country, how it got that way, how everything they need to know to prepare them for good jobs in the future, whatever they may be. We know many of them are highly complicated technical jobs these days that require a lot of education. The teachers, and they've had to form unions to protect themselves, that is for damn sure, because the public is now out to demonize teachers. The politicians are out to outlaw what teachers are allowed to teach, like American history, about how this country really came together, the racism in this country that is still ruining this country, that needs to be fought against. What is going on in this country? Well, just like the media is dying, the politicians are now out to make sure that teaching is dying.
Well, Joe, when I look at the auto industry, and it used to be the big three, used to be Ford, Chrysler, and General Motors. It's many others. Right. But for them to cry crocodile tears, Joe, that they're not making enough money. Have you bought a new car in the last decade?
Yeah.
Well, the cost of those,
and I know what you're talking about.
Well, yes. I remember, Joe, when they moved those companies out of this country and took them overseas, and with the promise that the American people were going to get a better deal, right? That once they moved the jobs overseas, they certainly pay people less, and so that would be reciprocated to us. Because,
and we know why they moved the jobs overseas, because those overseas car companies competed with American companies.
Hey, Joe, I need you to hang on. Joe, we got to go to break.
We're taking over the market.
Hey, Joe, you remember you used to do this. You were a talk show host. We got to go to a break. So we got to take a short break. When we come back, we'll come back to you. Joe McNally is on the line. I'm glad he is, and we'll get to the phone lines. 844-967-2789. Talking about the auto strike, union strike right now. We'll be right back.